What's up YouTube, Capital G here, checking out the brand new Marincess archetype that just got revealed. These ladies are going to be premiering in Rising Rampage, as I said yesterday. That is the core booster set coming after Dark Neostorm. We'll get this into TCG probably around August, and this is another anime archetype. This is played by Aoi, aka Blue Angel. If you guys are not familiar with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns anime, she's the one that plays Trickstars, so just based on the fact that she plays them and she's a major character, also the fact that they're from the anime, you know that this archetype is just going to get waves and waves of support. And honestly, I'm really liking this archetype. Now, if you guys are wondering why Aoi has switched over to a new archetype, well, she is teamed up with one of the AIs in the show, so it kind of makes sense for her to get a new deck. And honestly, I mean, Trickstars have kind of run their course. I mean, she's played them since season 1, since like episode 3 in the anime. It kind of feels like a time for a new archetype. Now, because she is teamed up with Aqua, this entire deck or the entire archetype is water-based, which is kind of cool. And it also means that this entire archetype is Cybers-based, which I've been saying for a while. Konami needs more freaking Cybers archetypes. It feels like we have Code Talkers, which isn't really a deck. And then we have Salamangreats, which obviously is like tier 1, but we really don't have anything else. So the fact that we have another Cybers archetype is really good. And honestly, my first impressions is this has the potential to be competitive. This deck has a play that is incredibly ridiculous, and I think that it will be the bread and butter of this deck. So yeah, shout outs to Lady Debug, the fact that this entire deck is Cybers. But let's go ahead and start breaking down the cards. Excuse me. First card is Marincess Seahorse. This is a level 3 water Cybers effect monster. 1400 attack and 1000 defense. You can only special summon this card with its first effect as a hard once per turn, and then its second effect is also a hard once per turn. The first effect is basically a Crusadia effect. It says you can special summon this card from your hand to a zone a Marincess monster you control points to. So yeah, you're just special summoning her to one of your Marincess's link points. That's just built into like every Crusadia monster, if you guys are familiar. Also, Salamangreat Mole has an effect that's somewhat similar to that. It summons to a link monster's link point. Doesn't have to be yours, but I digress. Effect number 2. During your main phase, except the turn that this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one water monster from your hand to a monster zone a Marincess monster you control points to. It's the same exact effect as the first effect. It doesn't summon itself. It summons another Marincess monster from your hand. It can be another copy of Seahorse, but you're basically just summoning another Marincess. Or it actually doesn't have to be a Marincess monster. It can be any water monster. So shout outs to, you know, Atlanteans and Mermaids and stuff like that. Overall, I wasn't blown away by this card. I thought the first effect would be really useful, but when you look at the link monsters, this effect, like this card actually becomes nuts. It's a really, really good play starter for this deck, and we'll get to the link monsters in a second. Second card is Marincess Sea Star. It's a level 2 water Cybers effect monster, 800 attack and 400 defense. It says you can use this card's effect, or you can use this card's name's effect up to twice per turn, which is cool because you don't generally see that. Most Yu-Gi-Oh! Effects in today's game are like hard once per turns, but this is a card you can use twice in one turn. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, then target one Marincess monster you control. That is the cost. It gains 800 attack until the end of this turn. I really wish this card would have been a quick effect. That feels like it would have been much better if it would have been like a little baby Honest that you could use multiples of, kind of like, it would have been essentially just kind of like a Collude, I guess. Now you can actually attack directly, which is quite nice. This is basically just Collude for this archetype, but it is not actually a card that is a quick effect. That's the only downside of this, essentially. Now, let's go to the Link monsters. The Link monsters were what really got me excited about this deck, because the effect monsters, I looked at the two, and I was like, all right, okay, we only got 2 effect monsters. I was like, neither one of them really blew me away, but when you get to the Link monsters, it's like, whoa, it just starts being really impressive. The first one is Marincess Blue Slug. It's a Link 1 Water Cybers effect monster. Its link point points straight down towards you, and it has 1500 attack, and its materials are 1 level 4 or lower Marincess monster. I think Konami learned their lesson with Salamangreat Baylance, the fact that it's just a Cybers monster, because if this would have just been a Cybers monster instead of a Marincess, you would have had everybody summoning Lady Debug and then going straight into this, and those shenanigans are already seen play in Salamangreat. So I felt like Konami probably didn't want that all over again. It says you can only link summon 1 Marincess Blue Slug once per turn. The first effect says, if this card is link summoned, you can target one Marincess monster in your graveyard, except another copy of Blue Slug, add it to your hand. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn, except water monsters. Okay, so what this basically means is, just off jump, I looked at that effect and I was like, that's really good, because it means I can normal summon my Seahorse, then I can link summon into my Blue Slug, and then I can just get my Seahorse back to my hand. I can special my Seahorse of its own effect, and I mean, that's a one card normal summon link too, right? I was like, that's not bad. That's actually pretty good. We're getting somewhere, but don't worry, the combos don't just stop there. The second link is their link 2, naturally. It's Marincess Coral and Moan. This is a water cybers monster, 2000 attack, and it requires 2 water monsters to summon. It says you can only use this card's first and second effect, both as hard once per turn. The first effect says you can target one water monster with 1500 attack or less in your graveyard, special summon it to a zone this card points to. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except water monsters. Second effect says if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one Marincess card in your graveyard except another copy of itself, add it to your hand. All right, this is what took the combo even further for me, and it made the deck feel like it really actually had a lot of potential. So now, basically, this one special summons a water monster that's 1500 attack or less, which means you can, as soon as you go into the link 2, you can bring the link 1 back from the graveyard, and you can instantly go for a link 3. So I was like, okay, so now my normal summon turns into a link 3 off jump. I was like, that seems really good. But then on top of that, the second effect is the warrior returning alive. So now if you normal summon that Seahorse, you can add the Seahorse back to your hand. You're talking about a 1-card link 3 in this deck. Well, actually, it's not even a 1 card. It's technically a 0 card, because the monster that you use to start the combo out with, the Seahorse, goes back to your hand at the end of the combo. Like, that is incredible. I mean, seriously. How many other decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Have a 0-card link 3 or even a 1-card link 3 that nets them their card back in their hand? That is actually some Salaman great level shit. So basically, if you normal summon Seahorse, guys, you can climb all the way to the link 3 for absolutely free, and that is insane to me. So let's go ahead and talk about the link 3 while we're at it. This is Marincess Marbled Rock. It's a link 3 water cybers monster. It has 2500 attack, and it points to the left, to the right, and then down towards you. It requires 2+ water monsters to summon, and the first effect is a hard once per turn. The first effect says you can target one Marincess card in your graveyard, except another copy of Marbled Rock, add it to your hand. I think what Konami's doing there is, I think they're trying to essentially make the C-Star really good. The C-Star is the little baby Kalute one, the one that gains 800 attack. I think that they want you to be able to, like, discard, gain 800 attack, and then add it back to your hand, and then, you know, gain another 1800 attack, which 1600 attack plus 25 would be 4100 attack. So that's actually quite nice. The second effect says when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send one Marincess monster from your hand to the graveyard. Monsters you control, or excuse me, monsters cannot be destroyed by that battle. Also, you take no battle damage from that battle. So basically, it's a protection effect. I wish it would have been a little better. I would have liked something, I would have rather preferred like some type of effect negation, maybe like a Phoenix Chain or something like the Witchcraft Vary. But the fact that you can normal summon, you know, a Marincess monster and go straight into the link 3, I'm honestly not really going to complain about this card. I think it's a very legitimate card for the link 3. I wouldn't be surprised if this deck got a link 4, the way that it can so easily go into its link 3. The first trap card is Marincess Wave, and it's really interesting because this deck's trap cards become actual hand traps, which is kind of cool. It's a normal trap card, and it says if you control a link 3 or higher, the fact that they put higher on there tells me that they're probably going to get link 4s in the future. I just noticed that reading this for like the 5th time. A link 3 or higher Marincess monster, you can activate this card from your hand. So yeah, as I said, the traps in this deck actually become hand traps if you have like high link monsters. It says if you control a Marincess link monster, target one face-up monster your opponent controls, negate that monster's effect until the end of the turn. In addition, if you control a link 2 or higher Marincess monster, all face-up monsters you control become unaffected by your opponent's card effects until the end of the turn. Okay, so this is basically Effect Veiler on super crack. I mean, you're talking about about, number one, it can be activated from your hand, just like Effect Veiler. It targets one of your opponent's monsters, negates their effects until the end of the turn, and then it also makes your monsters, all of them, unaffected by everything your opponent throws at them. I mean, I think that this card is actually quite good, and as long as it is searchable in this deck, I think that it will become even amazing. I think that this card is solid. Their other trap card, I'm not actually that sold on. This is Marincess Current. It's a normal trap card. It says that it's a hard once per turn, and much like the other one, if you control a Link 3 or higher Marincess monster, you can activate it from the hand. When a Marincess Link monster you control destroys an opponent's monster by battle, inflict damage to your opponent equal to 400 times that monster you control's Link rating. In addition, if you control a Link 2 or higher Marincess monster, and the opponent's monster that was destroyed was a Link monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the destroyed monster's Link rating times 500. Okay, I'll be quick with Current. I don't really like this card. I mean, these type of like effect damage battle trap cards don't really work in today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Who really runs these cards like Magic Cylinder or anything like that outside of Chain Burn? Honestly, what I kind of feel like the deck should have gotten, because it doesn't feel like a burn deck, the deck maybe should have gotten like a Mirror Force type of battle trap that could be activated from the hand. That shit would have been sick. I've been saying for years that Crystal Beast needs something like that. If this deck could have gotten like a Mirror Force you can activate from the hand, your opponent would never see that coming. Like, that would have been utterly ridiculous, but I don't really see a reason to run this card. The ceiling of this card is just a bunch of burn damage, and you're never going to get any tangible advantage out of it. Maybe if you could have banished it from the graveyard and banished like a Marincess monster to draw a card, it replaces itself, that would have made it at least kind of good, but honestly, I would just rather stick with the Effect Veiler like wave. But so far, I'm really digging this archetype. I love the fact that they have a 0 card, essentially Link 3. I think the recycling aspect of it is actually quite good, and even the C-Star, the Baby Kalute, is not bad when you're talking about being able to recycle it so easily. So what do you guys think of the Marincess deck? I would have to say that I'm looking forward to it right now, and hopefully we get even more good cards in the future. Right now, I think the deck needs some Stunish type trap cards, but whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.